Okay, students, we are heading into page 3, the store of the boutique site. And just to give you a little glimpse of what we're shooting for, I've asked you to create 9 thumbnails with 9 larger images because we're going to create an image gallery. It's very common in graphic design, and especially for creatives, artists, to have some kind of image gallery, but it's also very common for stores to have products. So this is somewhat like they would do as they were creating a web base. There's all kinds of things. You could roll over and have text appear. Uh, there's lots of things. You could roll over and have the thumbnail zoom in. They're all still just fancy links to take you to another page. What we're going to do, just because of time and this is introductory web design, which that requires a lot of JavaScripts and stuff to make those fancy things happen. We can do that, but just because of our separation and isolation, I can't really help you as much as I'd like one-on-one. So what we're going to do is something like this. You'll hover over these images. They're going to fade out like that. I'm going to show you how to make this hover effect. It's not really a rollover. In other words, it's not a before and an after state. There really is, well, there is an after state, but there's not an image that swaps out like we've done on page 1. That was kind of nice, but let's don't do that over and over again. This is going to be a hover CSS effect. When you mouse over it, it goes 50% transparent. You can have it the other way around too. You can have it 50% transparent, you mouse over it, goes 100%. Notice how it glides and smoothly fades in and fades out. That's another effect that's called a transition, ease in and ease out transition, which I'll show you in the CSS. But that's all we're going to do in this video. Is we're going to basically get your images in place inside of this content area. This is exactly the same content area. We edited it a little bit. We have to be careful though, because we don't want to edit the content box on the first 2 pages. If we do that in the CSS, it would happen that way. So let's go back to where you were before, and this is what you were at before, where you had a map and you still had these images there. I think I didn't leave that on the next one, so in this video we're going to leave this on here on every page except maybe the contact page. Maybe even leave it there too, because it's just more links. So let's go on. What we're going to do is, notice you've got your Google map on the left side and you've got your written content, address, and descriptions there. We don't no longer need this. So I'm in the source code. Now disregard that I'm in a page is called About To, and then my next version was About 3. I have to make multiples for the tutoring part of it, tutorial part of it. So I'm looking at the source code. Let me expand it just to code only. And you can see, I'm going to just hover over where the body begins. This is where the head ends, somewhere up here, and the body starts right here. The body, remember, it used to just say body open, body close. It was just open bracket, body, close bracket, and then we went on. But when we put those rollover images, if you remember on page 1, it says on load, preload. Dreamweaver just did this for us. It's preloading those images so that there will not be a delay when you mouse over an image. It doesn't have to calculate and reload. It's already preloaded, so it's there quickly. And then we have the header. That's all going to stay the same. We have the logo box and the nav bar inside that header. I'm going to indent this so it looks like it's included in that header, which it is. Then we've got this content area. And inside that content area, remember we had that article left, which now holds the Google document, the Google map, and we have article right, which has that little bit of content. Let's look at this closely because we're going to delete this. So make sure you're in the source code and follow along with me. We have div ID content, and the div ID content closes down here. The rest of this stuff that's inside of it, we want to delete. Okay, so we delete that. I'm going to zoom back out and split the view, and you'll see this all went away on the right hand side. So what we've got is a nice big clean content area that's 500 by 900 pixels, or however wide it is, 1,000 pixels I think. There's nothing in it. So what we need to do is we need to stylize this, because we're going to put our images in here and we want them to be kind of like these images down here that float in the center. And we want to have about 3 wide, 3 columns, so we have to think about the size of things. So let's get started on that with the CSS. And I've already done the CSS, so this may be a little not so much follow along, but look, and I'll go over what I've done. So what I did in the CSS, I'm popping over. By the way, I don't know if we discussed this, but notice all this extra verbiage up here, these other switches or buttons up here. This happened when we put in the Google Map. It throws in some JavaScripting, the map JavaScript, onion, whatever that is, an overlay. All of this stuff exists not on your computer, not on my computer, not in our folders. It exists at Google online, and these are just links. Those can be really confusing if you stare at them too long. So just focus on these. These are the things that you have control over. Style, your style sheet. Mine, again, remember again, mine says style 4 because it's like the 4th version of my styling. But yours is just style.css still. All right, so let's come down to, we've got the header logo box, we're on the style sheet, and we had this content area that we've been using on the first 2 pages thus far. I like the same style, the same shape and size. I want to leave that, but I want to create a new one. So what I did is I copied this, pasted it, and then began to edit it. So I'll leave this up here for a moment, or you can pause it, but this is what you're going to need to do. So if you'll copy this, of course you use your own colors, your own style, so you copy yours, okay, and put it down there. The only difference is I had the height as being auto here because when I put in the 9 thumbnails, it's going to get taller than 500 pixels. So change in the content underscore about. The reason being we don't want to just change it up here in content because then it'll change it on the first page and then we've got a problem in the second page. So this content style is exclusive to the about page. Or if you called it store, gallery, whatever you call it, it doesn't matter, just as long as you get them in sync with each other. So I had to put a text align center because I want my content in there to be align center. Okay, that's my content that's inside that entire content about area. Those images, I want them to be 3, 3, 3, just stacked like that. Remember, this is not a responsive site, so it will just always be static. 3, 3, 3 is what we're looking for. Everything else is the same, kept the same ridge. Now, something I'll talk about later is, we'll come back to this, but I stylized the images that are going to go in here. And then this little snippet of code right here we'll come back to. This is what makes the hover happen. When I mouse over it, it goes 50% transparent. And we'll come back to that in a minute. Now, the article left and right, we deleted it from our source code, but the style's still here. And that's good because that is governing and controlling the styling on the first 2 pages that have a left and a right. All right, let's go back to our source code and let's begin entering some images, okay? So your div is probably already collapsed. Mine isn't because, well, let me change that to its content about, and then it will collapse. So I got to come down here under that head and come down to where it says div ID equals content. Give yourself a minute to find it. I'm going to change this div ID content to underscore about. Okay. Now I'm looking over here on the right. Notice that this collapsed because the size of the content area now just looks like 2 horizontal bars. That's the top and the bottom ridged border. It just collapsed because there's no content in here, but we're going to put content. So I'm going to insert my cursor inside between the open div and the closed div of content about. We're going to go so insert image, and we're not going to do hover rollover images. We're just going to image, and then that's where you go. You've got your pre-formed images. I want to find my first one that's a small. Here's a pickle balloon, small. Okay, and I'm going to double click it, the same as saying okay. Double click it, and there it is, and it's in the center. Now the reason I've got a border on here already, and I've got the hover effect, because I've already done it in my CSS, okay? That's why. That's the only reason why. So if you went ahead and copied all that code and put it in here, yours would be doing the same. Otherwise, let's continue on. I'm going to insert all these images, and I like to space them out in between the tags. So here's the div ID content, there's the image. There's my closed div. I'm going to get that separated a little bit. Okay, so I want to put my next image. I'm going to click it about right here. I like to get them organized neatly. Go to insert image, and continue on, and I've got cotton candy, small. Okay, I'll double click. Boom, there's my cotton candy image. Okay. Now the reason these are padded, yours are going to be stacked to the left probably and right next to you just because they don't have that style yet. If you want to go back to the style and copy this all right now, you can do it right now. Okay, it might make your life easier. And so while we're here, I'll go ahead and go over this. What I did is this content about is about the green border div that I have. Yours is different color, I'm sure. Different background possibly. It's still 1,000 pixels wide. The height we set to auto because we want it to be, you know, if your images are a little taller, a little smaller, it'll collapse to fit that. Text align center is making sure all of this content inside that box is centered. And then there's the border. That's the color, and yours borders should be different than mine because nobody else is doing pickles. All right, we made this second declaration. It says content about space img, which affects every image that exists inside the content about div. It means all of these images are going to be this width. Now you can. This is an approximation. If mine was originally 360 pixels, actually these images originally are 360. But that's too big. They wouldn't fit. It'd only go 2, and then I wanted to put the third one on the next line. So I just had to size them. So I did it in the CSS. All my images are the same size originally, but I resized them here. And I told them all to be 266 pixels in width, and I want the height to be auto. If yours are rectangles or squares or circles, whatever, if you'll do that, it'll be fine. It'll just remember they do need to be, the originals need to be the same size and proportions. I put 20 pixels margin instead of padding because remember, if I do padding, this black border actually went outside the padding. But when I do margin, everything works fine. But it also pushed these elements away from each other, just like padding does. So they're not just slammed. We did the same thing right here on these. Okay. And then the border, just like you did up here in the content about, you can have a border which has at least 3 parameters or properties that you got to adjust. Color, the width. I could have done an RGB color. I could have done a hexadecimal. It doesn't matter, but find yourself a color. Medium of the width is probably about 4 pixels, but you could put 4 pixels, 5 pixels, 2 pixels, 0 pixels. It doesn't matter. And then solid. You want a dotted, dashed, solid, ridged, etc. style of line, but you have to have those 3 selected in that order. Now this, where it says opacity, this part of the stylization of these images, this is the transition, we call it. So when you hover over it, it's got this, actually when it's not hovered over, while it's in this just original state, it's 50% opacity right here. Actually, it's 100% opacity right there. The transition is a half a second, 0.5s, means to ease out. These other 3 lines, these are for folks that have IBM or PC Windows machines. That WebKit is for Windows browsers like Edge, Microsoft, Firefox, Mozilla, Opera, but Safari and Google Chrome actually are being controlled by this. So these little dashed are extra things just to cover all the different browser windows. So you can throw that in there. I know it's kind of odd, you have to type that in, but just take a second to do that. And lastly, the only other CSS change right here is I wanted to affect the hover part. So that's when we mouse over this image, it goes 50% transparent. And that's what this simply does. It says when you hover over the image, it's very much like our links, a:/link, hover, you know, it's the same kind of idea. So let's go back. Let's insert the images. Actually, if you would continue doing the same, I'll do 3 more and then you could finish this up. And then I'll have one more video about putting in some text on this page. Okay. Oh, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to have to make these link to the larger image. So we got to go back to the source code. Go zoom out, go to the source code where the HTML exists, and continue putting in those images. Now, I'm going to do this just to make things quicker for the demo real quick. I'm going to copy these and just, I know they're duplicates, okay? You're going to have your originals. Okay, so I'll click over here. I've got my closed div all out of whack. I copied too much. So see, let me delete those closed divs, sorry. Just to make life complicated. Boom. Okay. Now, quickly in live view, I've got 8. I don't have 9. Okay, I need one more in there so it doesn't look that wonky. And when we click on this, it should expand to a large image only if I link to it. So I've got to go back here. Let me come to do it this way. I'm going to go to Design View. Design View is where you can actually edit things, okay? And I'm going to split screen, but on this first image, I'm clicked on it. It has no link to it. So I'm going to go to my property bar. It's under Windows, Properties. And my property bar here, I'm going to link. I've already got the large image. Remember, this is the floaty, not a floaty, but I don't remember what it was, balloon. So I'm going to browse to find it. Pickle balloon small, it's right here. Okay, large. This is my 800 by 800 pixel width. Open. Okay, so I have linked to it. I thought I did. Where'd it go? Let me click on that again. There. Link to the large image of the balloon. Okay. Yes. Now look at the code real quick. See what happened. It added this. It kind of put it on a different line, but it basically put a reference link, balloon large JPEG, okay? And then it put the close A attribute there, which makes that a link. So this is going to happen to each one of these. So what's going to happen in the real thing is I'm going to do 1 or 2 more of this. So let me click over here. I clicked on the second image. Now I'm going to go to my property bar, click on the link, I'm going to browse it, and I'm looking for, I think that was cotton candy. Okay, I'm looking for the large image, okay? And it put that link in there just the same. I'm going to continue on. I like to line these up the same, so just so they look organized. Love the code to be neat, really do. Okay, I'm going to said I do one more, so this is the same thing again. You'll have your 9 separate images, but we'll do this to each one. And I've got that selected. I'm going to go browse on my property bar. That was a floaty again. I'm going to pick one of my other images. Did you know they made pickle lip balm? Woo, ugh. Sure did. All right. Perfect. One of the things, this is important. I know you're probably, so pause or whatever, get all 9 of these done. But it's important to remember, we want these to open in a new window. So what I want to do is, right here where the links are where it says A space href, okay? Those are links, and they're right before the image that you click on. Right after the image where it says balloon large.jpg, and after that quotation mark, let me zoom in a little closer, I want to add the target equals blank. Target equals blank, okay? And if I would put that after every image link, right after the quotation, then I'll show you what happens. Let me zoom out. I'm going to say save, file, save all, say save all, since we've, it's going to save the CSS update and the source code update. And for those of you who can't do it this way, I'm going to say file preview, but if not, you can go to Chrome or Firefox, Safari, and then just say file open. You should be able to view it that way. But in the device preview, when I click on this, boom, see how it opens in a new window? That's what I want to happen. Now, if this was an actual store or gallery, we'd have a little description beside it. This can be put in your shopping cart, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So every one of them looks nice. Yeah, that's the way I want it to do. So finish those up. I don't know, just email me if you've got any more questions. You're going to have 9 of these images. I'm going to have one more brief video for this content area on the third page, and we're going to put a little box in here that has a description about what this page is about. Okay? All right. Well, good luck with it.